Hey you. Yeah, you. Random person only semi-watching this video while scrolling through Instagram looking at pictures of people struggling to hold on to a time before the coronavirus had us up in our apartments like a bunch of animals. I want you to put your phone down for a second. Maybe pause this video. Take yourself back to that time. A time before masks. A time before it felt like the sky was falling. A time when you were actually out in the wild, going to restaurants, bars, clubs, vacations, shopping districts, and music festivals. Back before we were unintentionally stacking our dinero like De Niro in the 90s. I want you to ask yourself, how much money were you spending on dumb shit? If the coronavirus were to end today, how likely is it that you would revert back to your old spending habits? Personally, I'm an optimist, and I think that this is all going to be over in the next year and a half, so what are you going to do when it is? What it do, fam? You're watching Sekidar, and this is the next interlude called Sustainable Change. Before I keep going, I would appreciate it if you could take a second and a half to scroll down, like this video, and subscribe to the channel, as it'll help me keep this thing going and keep these videos coming to you every week. If you know anyone who could benefit from any of the info in any of these videos, please share it with them so that we can grow this community and expand the resources available to foreigners now and in the future. But let's get back to it. So upon publishing my last video, I realized that I kind of jumped a million steps over the course of the 8 episodes, from simply buying SME gift certificates to opening up an investing account and actually getting into the market. Realistically, however, most people barely have their shit together enough to pay off their existing debts before even worrying about opening an investment portfolio. So I'm gonna take it back a few steps because the coronavirus may have us locked in our apartments controlling our spending for now, but that shit ain't gonna last forever. But as long as we're in here, we might as well take the time to game plan our spending. That way, by the time we get out, we'll be able to throw our cash recklessly in the air responsibly. Now, to better illustrate what I want to talk about, let's do a little thingy on the concept of opportunity cost. Simply put, opportunity cost is the price you pay for picking one decision over another. So imagine you're out with your friends. Let's call them Kalo and Debo. After a night of drinking, they're both splitting up and you have the option to go with either of them. Kalo is going to McDonald's, Debo is going to San Antonio. San Antonio is way too far away, plus you're kinda hungry, so you decide to go with Kalo. You eat, you go home, and overall you feel like you made a good decision. Chances are you're right, but you've still incurred some opportunity cost. In this scenario, the opportunity cost of your decision would be the potential benefits that you gave up by not going with Debo to San An. Maybe you would have met some new people, tried some new foods, experienced life in a new city, I don't know. But that's kind of the thing with opportunity cost. It's pretty intangible regardless of the situation. At any time of day, you're making decisions that are affected by opportunity cost. For example, the time you're spending to watch this video is incurring opportunity costs. Maybe you could be reading, or practicing your handles, or researching a company that you're interested in buying shares in. By making the decision to do one thing, you're simultaneously losing opportunities to benefit from any of the alternative choices that you could have made. When it comes to money, opportunity cost can actually start to become regret fuel. For example, maybe you regret not getting in on Tesla before it shot to the moon. Or maybe you regret buying it when it was overvalued, then failing to sell before the market adjustment brought it back down to earth. See, not only are there regrets to be had about the money you lost, but opportunity costs consider the many other things you could have done with that money that would have been more beneficial. For example, instead of losing money on Tesla, you could have spent it on buying gold, donating it to a bail fund, or copying that Rick Owens shirt that looks like a fucked up tent. But here's a tweet by Canadian finance guy Stephen Punuasi that actually illustrates an opportunity cost decision that we all make every day. The tweet reads, "Quick lesson on the value of time. Someone said that it's a waste of money to dine out and that it should be saved. Incorrect. It would take about 30 minutes to cook, and my time cost more than the money saved. Unless you want to, cooking sometimes is a poor use of your time. A lot of things like this make sense to founders and the self-employed. Should I clean the house? Can those 3 hours be better used expanding our company? I do recognize that a lot of people can't convert free time into more income, but my point is that not everyone has the same base case." So this tweet ultimately demonstrates how simply cooking your own dinner incurs opportunity costs, while also acknowledging that opportunity costs are subjective to each person's financial situation. They illustrate the constant negotiations that we make with ourselves about time and money without even getting into the concepts like willpower and emotional energy that are also finite resources that we carry with us on a day-to-day basis. So anyways, opportunity costs surround us in everything we do, and I'd like you to keep that in mind as we move through the rest of this video. I want to talk about a book by Ramit Sethi that's called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. I know that if you're hearing this for the first time, it might come off the bat sounding like a clown wearing a pair of douche shoes, but it really does contain some of the most practical, personal financial literacy advice out there. So here are a couple things that he wrote that can be applied to anybody regardless of their financial situation and that I personally really like. 1. Frugality, quite simply, is about choosing the things you love enough to spend extravagantly on, and then cutting costs mercilessly on the things that you don't love. I like this quote a lot because ultimately it's the type of shit that we need to hear. There's nothing wrong with spending a lot on the things that bring you the most happiness. To do so without leaving your ass out in an emergency, you need to find somewhere to balance the spending out. So let's think about it this way. This is my guy OG. OG makes 2.7 million won per month. In an average month, he spends 750 on rent, 150 on utilities, 100 on gas for his car, 650 on takeout, 500 on clubbing, 350 on clothing, and finally, he puts 200 towards his credit card debt. One day, OG wakes up and he realizes that he wants to start saving more money, whether through investing or otherwise. Where should he start cutting back first? Think about it, I'm gonna give you a few seconds. Alright, I think the answer is obvious. There's literally no way of knowing where he should cut back. See, this is OG's life. OG's not even a real person, but this is his life, and we don't know what makes him happy. So if clubbing and staying fly are the two things that make him the most happy, then let this man spend 10 million a year popping bottles and rocking some new Palace or Stussy every weekend. In exchange, maybe he downsizes the crib to something that only costs him 500 a month. Maybe he cuts his food budget in half by making his own bread, yogurt, or meals in general. Maybe he starts taking public transit or biking instead of driving. Really, if the only change he makes is the first one, then that's already an extra $250 a month that can go towards paying down his debts, contributing to a fund, buying stocks, or even just adding to an emergency fund. If he does the rest, that could easily be another 300 without having to sacrifice the luxuries that really bring him the most happiness. And yeah, I'm sure this guy will miss his sumokkum dinner trips to halal guys, but again, the key aspect that allows you to spend extravagantly on things you love is cutting mercilessly on the things that you do not. In terms of opportunity cost, by spending heavy now, OG incurs the loss of the benefits of saving or investing the money for the future. Conversely, if OG decides to save or invest for the future, he incurs the loss of the benefits of spending his money now. Ultimately, my guy has to sacrifice something, and knowing this gives him the ability to choose what he sacrifices, how he wants to, based on his own personal values. Number 2. In a world of infinite choice, if something is not made specifically for me, I'm gone. This is probably the most important thing for me personally, and it extends beyond money and companies and all that garbage. People can be toxic in a number of ways, and there are so many companies and so many people that you can choose to trust to do the right thing for you and yours. We live in a world of near infinite choice, and it's so important to recognize that keeping toxicity in your life, whether it be people or assets, is a choice that you make every day. You have the power to cut them out, and the second they give you a legit reason to, especially in relationships that can be cut off easily, there's no reason to think twice. Time and money are unlimited, but your time and your money is not. So the second you get the impression that people or companies that you're dealing with don't align with your values and the things that you care about, cut the opportunity cost and spend your energy, your very limited resources, on something that really means something to you. Ultimately, the real lesson is, when companies and people show you who they truly are, believe them. Now, I got a lot of friends that would probably just disagree with all of this and tell you to take out a margin and YOLO on spy calls instead. But if you're looking to get rich quick, I'm not the guy for you. I'm gonna be upfront about this. I'm personally very risk averse at this point in my life, which means I'm not into that Lambo or breadlines life. I'm really not here to talk about gambling on options or trying to sell you some shit that'll get you into Forbes. For me, slow, systematic, time-tested due diligence are the tools that I use to build security for myself, my partner, and my dog. So what I'm offering you are those same tools that I use for myself. So to summarize, Opportunity cost is the loss of opportunities that you incur when choosing one choice over another. It's an intangible thing that is constantly at play no matter what it is you're doing. So if you want to live your best life without jeopardizing your future economic well-being, follow Ramit Sethi's advice. Spend extravagantly on the things you love and cut back mercilessly on everything else. If you're not being catered to by the company you keep, cut ties and move on. And finally, when it comes to determining the toxic things in your life, don't fight for the wrong things. When a company or person shows you who they truly are, believe them. Alright, I know this wasn't very much of a how-to in Korea video that I usually do, but hopefully some of the things that I covered resonate with you and what you're trying to do with your life. That being said, I've decided to start a new series about personal finance that touches on a lot of the main concepts that underlie personal financial security. That series will follow along with and summarize the text of Siegel and Yacht's textbook Personal Finance, which can be retrieved from the Open Textbook Library, and I'll link that in the info section below. Like I said, everything incurs opportunity cost. So if you think that it would be a valuable use of your time to go through the textbook yourself, feel free to do so. But otherwise, I'm down to do the readings and summaries for you. Why? I'm an educator by trade, and this is some shit that we should have learned about a long time ago. To me, no opportunity cost is too great when weighed against lifting up the people. I'm gonna open up my bag so that you can get into yours. Once again, you've been watching Sekki들. And if this is your first time taking in one of my videos, I suggest rolling it back to episode 1 because that's some shit that you can do right now that'll guarantee you a return on the spot. For the rest of you, thank you for sticking around and hit the comment section below to let me know what you think about the upcoming series. If you're still scrolling Instagram and didn't take in a word I just said, do me a favor, throw my playlist on repeat. Let me be your white noise.